And challengers, Francine Busby.
My name is Francine Busby. I am running for Congress in this district because I want to represent you with the honesty, the diligence, and the integrity that you deserve and expect in a representative. People are, especially now with this economic situation, are hurting, and they need and deserve a representative who belongs to the community, who's going to listen to them, who cares about their issues, and is going to work for them here and go back to Washington and fight for them. And I don't believe that Mr. Bilbray right now is doing that. I think he's been there for 15 years. I think a lot of things have changed. The fact that he founded this cigar association that is letting lobbyists come in and spend thousands, tens of thousands of dollars on lavish parties and let them in the back door to influence members of Congress is a betrayal of the trust and the integrity of the people here. I don't think we need that now. What we need right now is somebody who's honest and working hard, especially after the Cunningham fiasco. We don't want to go back to that again. I believe that he betrayed the trust of the people here, the small business people, when he voted against tax breaks for small businesses and increase access to loans. I believe that he betrayed the people here, everyone who's lost a home, lost a job, lost income, lost their retirement security when he voted against the finance reform that would have reined in the excesses that caused that. He betrayed the trust of the values and put our economy at risk when he voted to lift the moratorium off the drilling in California. He betrayed the trust of our teachers and our children when he sponsored legislation to loosen the restrictions on allowing concealed weapons in our school zones. There's a lot of differences between myself and Mr. Bilbray, and you'll be hearing those tonight, but I do welcome the opportunity to address all of these issues, and thank you again for coming tonight. Thank you.
And I'm running for Congress again because I think Washington has talked about trashing and attacking each other and personal assassinations while we're sitting in one of the most largest economic crises we've seen. We got 1 in 10 San Diegans unemployed. And you still got politicians who want to take cheap shots back and forth instead of trying to work together. We have a $13 to $14 trillion debt. 1 in every $3 that people are proposing to spend in Washington is borrowed. And I don't need to tell you where they're borrowed from. Now, I've tried to bring that local government experience to Washington, the few of us that do that, and work with people like a congressman from Pennsylvania. We just got passed, you don't hear about this, we just got passed a bill. Obama signed it into law. The president was there, was proud to sign a bill that I authored with a gentleman from Pennsylvania that saves $98 billion a year of wrongful payments. That's the kind of bipartisan effort I think the American people want and the people of the 50th really demand. Not this partisan difference.
So number one, I would definitely support the tax cuts for the 98% of the working people in this country. Mostly to the top 1% of the people in this country. And I think it's also very important for people to know that their tax cuts, their taxes are being invested in their communities. We are tired of selling cookies to support our schools. We're tired of begging for healthcare and having to make our reasons why we deserve it and be able to go to a doctor and take our children there. We want our infrastructure. We want the jobs that build our infrastructure. We want our taxes invested in our communities. And I don't think that that is the priorities that Americans have been seeing for the past few years. Thank you. The deficit that we're in is pretty clear. It's been caused by the spending on the wars. It's been caused by the tax cuts, and very little of it has been caused by the increase in spending on actual programs. The amount that's been continued through the tax cuts and through the wars from the Bush administration is what's causing the increase in the continuing deficit spending. But again, what the people are upset about in this country is what, like Miriam said, the bank bailout and others where people are getting their tax dollars. They're struggling. We're working hard. We're playing by the rules. Other people are breaking the rules. They're bending the rules. They're taking them away. And we need to make sure that the people in this country, that they're held accountable.
Thank you. don't ask, don't tell. Does the federal government have any role or position to take in single-sex marriage?
First of all, I voted against waiving that, abandoning that process right now for a good darn reason. We've taken the time to say we want to survey the men and women in harm's way. We wanted the military is supposed to be served. Before we make a decision on this, we should at least have the decency to listen to the men and women that are in harm's way, that are in uniform. And at that time, we can make an informed decision of what the people on the front line really think about it with the policy. And I think all of us should keep an open mind about this. Because we may be surprised one way or the other of what the men in armed services and the women in the armed services believe in this. And I think that's very, very important. I think that's not an important issue from policy. I think that it's a real common decency for our men and women.
This isn't about common decency, it's about the Constitution. We are all Americans, we are all men, we are all women. We are patriotic, and people want to serve their country. They have a right to serve their country. The fact that tens of thousands of people who are in the LGBT community have served this country with honor and dignity and courage and patriotism, and then been asked to leave after they've proven themselves is wrong. We have to let all Americans. I just think that every American has equal rights in this country, and that it's up to us, people in Congress and Americans, to make sure that we allow every American in this country to have equal rights.
Because you've got to remember, the reason why government historically, very early got involved in the marriage issue, it wasn't about the couples, it was about the children that were perceived to be an issue.
This is about individuals in a country where we have rights and freedom and individual and constitutional rights, and we have to respect each other for who we are. We need to protect each young people from bullying, but they shouldn't be committing suicide, they shouldn't be pushed because of who they are and what they are. We should all be working together to make sure that they can serve in the military, that they can live with whom they want to, that everyone has equal rights in this country. Afghanistan is a very difficult country. We've seen that from the history of it, but we also know that we have a lot of brave young men and women working over there. We have generals over there who are trying to transition from a military operation to an operation where they will be able to empower the Afghanistan people to take over their country. So I believe that we are on track for a transition to a more, to be supportive in a humanitarian and economic, diplomatic ways, and that the generals are doing a good job, and that we do have to allow them to do that, and we will be exiting Afghanistan soon. Thank you.
But the biggest thing we've got to understand is that when our men and women are in harm's way, Congress needs to be willing to do what it takes to give them the tools to win and not find excuses to retreat and lose. Now, I think the big mistake with Afghanistan was that Congress did not execute its constitutional responsibility of declaring war.
The Middle East is a very difficult situation for us, so I would like to say that our #1 priority should be energy independence, and that the 50th district with our high-tech and hopefully we can have a more peaceful world, a healthier world, and a better world based on the kind of work we can do here. Thank you. We have some of the premier climate scientists in the world, and they are the ones out there giving the evidence of global warming. And the fact that the Koch brothers front group, the Americans for Prosperity, came and kicked off Mr. Bilbray's campaign, and they are the biggest funders of climate science denial in the world, is just, it's unbelievable to me that he wants to represent this district and he has these people supporting him. In the 50th district, we are on the cutting edge of clean energy. We have over 650 companies in San Diego that are up and going now. We are the cutting edge for all kinds of science and technology and innovation. It's going to be our future here. It's going to be the future that we share with the world. And I take it seriously, and I'm proud of it, and I want to go to Washington. I want to work for it.
The federal government is telling every American citizen that now you do not have the right to live in the United States unless you buy a product from some business. President Obama, when he was running for office, promised he said that he would not put a mandate on it.
The goal in America should be to have every person in this country have access to affordable, quality health care. We've taken that first step. Is it perfect? No, but we have 4 years to work on this, and we can do better than we're doing. Having 46 million uninsured Americans is not acceptable. What is acceptable is we finally have the courage to take the first step, so let's work on it and get it right and stop criticizing all the time. Let's just work on it together and get it right.
You rightly pointed out that the so-called stimulus did not work. And the trouble is because, again, you send people to Washington to think their job is to take your money and then pick winners and losers and dole it out. Now, if you want to talk about where we should be able to work together, there's $1 trillion overseas in private capital. We should allow it to come back on the condition it goes into research and development and in job creation. That's $1 trillion of not your money, but the private sector's money that will go there rather than having to tax you and put the children in debt.
I would like to say that's really interesting that you want to tell private business what to do with their money when they bring it back in here. The reason that it's over there is because they don't want it taxed, because they don't want to contribute to our economy. The purpose of the stimulus money was to stop us from going into a depression, and for that, it worked. San Diego is a place where we have a lot of private employers, we have a vibrant economy, we have a tremendous opportunity to build on our potential. We also had last year $37 billion worth of federal funding in San Diego. That creates jobs right here. I voted against the ability for them to access loans and credit. 78% of our small businesses now can't get loans, and he voted against it. The people he voted against bringing 16,800 teacher jobs back to California, putting them back into our overcrowded classrooms where they belong. He does not represent you. He does not represent me.
Mr. Bates.
Children have been raised here, they've been educated here, they know no other country, they have no other country. They're patriotic American, they'd like to have a future, they want to go to college, they'd like to serve in the military, and they'd like to become productive members of our society, and I support that. I have no reason to believe that It's very sad that so many people do feel that we need to punish these children for that. And Mr. Bilbray's been talking about immigration for a long time, and yet he's become one of the biggest obstructionists to immigration reform in this country. People here are good. They work hard. They follow the rules. They raise their children, and they want a better life for themselves and for their children. And they have to decide who they want to represent them. We have a representative who voted against finance reforms for the banks and the excesses that put us into this huge tailspin. And he took $300,000 from banks and investment companies, and who's he working for, them or for you, when he votes against that? We have a representative who is poo-pooing the health care bill. It's not perfect, but we need to make progress in health care. And killing this bill is not progress. We have a representative who moved in here in 2006, and before you could blink an eye, he voted to allow drilling off the coast of California. We have a representative here who's opened the back door of Congress with the Cigar Association and has let the lobbyists in. And some of you may think that this is not a big deal. Maybe all congressmen are always with lobbyists. Well, they're not always with lobbyists. They're not allowing tens of thousands of dollars to be paid for members to be with them under the auspices of a staffer organization. And if it's not that big of a deal, and if it is consequential, then Mr. Bilbray should take his name off of that and shut that thing down. Who's representing us, who's not representing lobbyists, who's not representing special interests. That's what's wrong with our country. That's why people are angry. That's why they're frustrated. And I'd like to go to Washington and represent you and not the special interests. Thank you.